Hello and welcome to another episode of the Anime Lounge podcast. I'm your host Lance, here with my other host Matt, and today we have our other host with us, Alec. How are you
Hey,
doing
how's it
there?
going, guys?
Going great. Good to have you with us again. Always love having you here.
Absolutely.
Glad to be
So,
here.
so every episode, we like to introduce our adult beverages of choice. Today, I am going to just dip back into my wedding whiskey, and that's been sitting for 26 months, so it's got a real nice flavor to it. And I'm washing that back with some Pabst Blue Ribbon. What about you, Matt? What are you drinking?
I am continuing my Journeyman's Distillery special for me barrel. It's so good, I can't stop drinking it. And then I have a Spotted Cow. What about you, Alec?
I too am drinking some of Lance's wedding whiskey, aged a fine 26 months, and I do agree, this is really good whiskey. He's not just tooting his own horn. This is good stuff. And I am chasing that down with a classic Bud Light.
Nice.
Gross.
Just to throw in a little bit more of information out there for all of our listeners, me and Matt are right here in Wisconsin. Alec lives all the way on the East Coast in Virginia. So I sent him a nice little bottle. It's just a nice small bottle to sample my whiskey, and it made it to him, and he saved it for this special occasion. And I'm very pleased to hear that he actually appreciates this whiskey that I dumped into a barrel and just waited a while for it to mature.
It was
I would
well
say,
well worth the wait.
I would say he acquired a bottle. I would not say you sent it to him. That's technically a federal crime. So
Oh,
let's not oust ourselves that way.
yeah,
I
yeah.
found I
Yes,
found this random bottle and it happened to be Lance's wedding whiskey and it was awesome.
crap. That was a total mistake. How did I send that? I was supposed to actually send you a bottle of water.
Amazing, amazing. The serendipitous.
Crazy. All right. Well, now that we got this whiskey water story figured out, Matt, you want to let everyone know what we're going to be covering today?
Yes, we are going to be covering season 1 of Wistoria, Wand and Sword. It is made by the creator of Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? So if you get some of the similar vibes, well, that's why. But when it comes to Wistoria, it revolves around Will, who is a individual who cannot use magic within a world of everybody who can use magic. He can only use a sword, and he is trying to navigate a way to be able to fulfill his promise to his lifelong friend, who is a magia vendor, who is essentially the top magical person. So he is trying to figure out a way to be by her side. And that's all of season 1.
Yeah, season one had a lot of amazing components to it, and going through this character list, I'm seeing a lot of interesting character designs because they're pulling the manga snapshots instead of the anime snapshots for their names and their pictures. So it's got me very curious. Matt, is there any differences between the anime and the manga?
Nani?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into this. This is kind of a newer manga series. I want to say it started in 21. So we're talking about 3 years. And for anybody who is interested in reading ahead from season 1, I would say just start on chapter 21, because that is the end of season 1 is about halfway through the chapter. So you might as well just read from the beginning of that chapter instead of trying to figure out something specific. For anybody who is new to listening to our podcast, I like to start from the beginning of the series and go chronologically, just because it makes more sense for me to how I write my notes. In the beginning, when Will is trying to use a wand in the test against the golem, we have no idea why he's using a wand. We're like, what's going on right now? They're basically just fighting golems. Like, that's how the panels start.
That's in the very beginning of the manga.
No, it's not in the beginning of the manga. So it's in the same time period when he is in class and he has the exam against the golems. We don't know that it's an exam until after the exam is over, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess that happened.
Okay, so
It's up
it's
to
very
you to
weird.
connect those dots.
Yeah.
yeah, so
Okay.
did they essentially start it with like jumping into the future, failing at using a magical wand, and then jumping back into chronological time?
Kind of. Yeah, the
Kind of.
the
Okay.
beginning's still the same. So no, it's more just like that part's really different. Will placed 50th the last time he participated in that tournament. Basically, he placed last.
Okay.
I was gonna say it's like 50th out of what? I
Out
don't
of
remember
50.
them having a ranking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it's 50 out of 50.
As far as we can truly kind of remember is that you can make a team as long as like your points added up to like what 200,000 credits or something like that. 250,000.
No, 12,000 credits.
Yeah, because it had to be
No.
enough to make it to the next level.
That's very interesting too because
There was a
I g-
monster that was worth 250,000
oh sorry.
mages.
I mean that I think what you're trying to get at is different than what I'm trying to say. When Will Scion, thank you, and Colette all joined that party, there was a quick comment that they made that they said like a party can only be formed if they surpassed like 200,000 credits, and that's why they
Well, that'd be
needed
nobody.
Scion in order. Wait, what?
That'd be nobody.
Do you have the
Because
number right?
the most credits in the school were like 14,000 credits.
Yeah. So what's his
Wait.
name?
It might have been 15.
Will had 5,000. He has like 5,400 credits or something.
Oh,
And then
maybe I'm
Scion had
guessing
7.
by a degree of 10 because I
Scion
know
had
the top 4
7,000.
guys have plus 10,000. Maybe I'm confusing 10,000 with 100,000 then.
Maybe because Wingnall had like 11,000 points. He was like on
Yeah.
the cusp of graduating.
Okay, that must be it because I know they made a mention that Will was like just past halfway and he's only 6. He's in his 6th and final year and he's only halfway there. So things don't look good for him. But then there's like the top 4 who have clearly surpassed a really high amount of whatever. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm getting at.
You needed 8 to graduate, by the way. 8,000 credits.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yep.
I assumed it was kind of where
Wasn't
the
it
top 4 was at.
12,000 to move up to like Magia Vander or something?
No.
Maybe.
So to get into the tower, you needed to graduate.
Maybe it was 12,000 to join that team because they needed a team collective account of a certain amount of credits. And that's why Colette and Will together weren't going to make that cutoff. And that's why they invited Scion. And maybe that's what makes the 12,000 credit cutoff. I don't know. Maybe that's where
I don't remember.
we're confused.
I think you're focusing on 12,000 credits.
Maybe. I just remember there being a limit to.
There was a reason
yes.
they formed
To
the crew, but I
participate.
don't remember what it was, other than them being the most likely.
Yeah. So you needed 8,000. You need 8,000 to get into the tower to graduate and get into the tower.
Okay. I'm glad you're saying this now because then I finished this series thinking that Will was nowhere close to graduating, but in all actuality, he has a decent shot.
Well, the problem is he needed like 2,500 plus credits to graduate, and the only way he could really get credits is through the
praxis.
The praxis. Yep. And then the final exam because he can't get spell work credits.
Right.
Well, I mean the monster he beats. A lot of the monsters he beats gives him a crap load of points. If you're keeping track of those.
Yeah, but he has to actually hold on. So they talk about it in the anime where he has to collect the
physical components of it.
Yeah, he has to collect the corpses. And when you're fighting for your life, oddly enough, collecting bits of dead animals is not your priority.
Right. I mean, unless you have a way to go.
He's that magic suitcase kind of thing, the magic bag.
Unfortunately, that's not that anime.
I don't know.
Unless
I could have sworn I saw him picking things up.
Yeah, I mean, unless Rosti has a way to bring out some kind of magical gear to give him that kind of access to like.
So he's not going to get credit for any of those monsters he killed in Praxis?
For the most part,
he got
no.
some.
He got some, yeah.
He did get some, but not nearly 2,000 credits worth.
And not only that, but I'm sure it was split between the team members too.
Yeah, that's true.
And
even though he did the heavy lifting.
I'll talk about it in a minute because.
Oh yeah, we're jumping ahead. Sorry.
I did make mention of some credits animals.
Okay.
When there was a lot of visual. I can't say a lot of. There was a handful of visual things that didn't happen within the manga that definitely happened within the anime. So like the opening ceremony, none of that happens in the manga.
What exactly constituted the opening ceremony?
Miss Perfect. So you had the 3 elves that did like the elven illusionary magic and did all the big flash and just visual stuff. And then
Yeah.
you had Miss Perfect. Iris, yep. She rode around on a broom and had like sparks coming out of her broom or something like that. It was kind of weird, but it was just visually stimulating.
Okay.
So they make mention how Will is the sword and Scion is the wand. I'm not like when they're talking about it, it says Will sword and then Scion wand. That was really about it. I feel like that was just foreshadowing for the future.
Yeah, that makes complete sense after the final episode where we
Yep.
meet that blonde-haired boy. He's like, "Hey,
Finn.
Finn, thank you. Any sword users you need to send in my direction, and you get all the wand users."
Yep.
So if you want to categorize people as wand users and sword users, it would make sense to put them like Will sword in parentheses at that rate then.
Yeah, but it was just one time, so it was kind of, I was like,
Oh,
and I had
interesting.
already seen the anime, so I knew what was going to happen in the future. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Was it
Okay.
was the scene where it showed where like I guess the panels that it shows that, was it near the beginning when he was like getting his wand and sword?
No, it was in the like during the tournament section.
Okay,
Yeah,
never
so
mind
it made no sense towards anything really.
because it was during the scene where like the sword like chooses him and then he gets like surrounded by those like red beams of light thing. Like that would have made sense because they all laughed at like, oh, he was chosen by his sword. Interesting, but he wants to be a wand.
Yep. But unfortunately not. It's a little bit of censorship when it came to the anime. So basically Colette's shirt was so ripped up that you could see her bra. So that's why he as in Will covered her up, was because you could see her underwear essentially.
Yeah, Will's a good boy to do that.
Yes, we have zero idea how Will got into the stadium with his fight with Julius. Like he's just in the stadium.
Yeah, he kind of just exploded. Like he just had some super speed. He was in the. It's like he
Didn't
got
he jump over it?
launched.
Yeah, he jumped.
He launched. Yeah, he got launched in. But like, how do you get that much speed? What propelled you into that position to put you onto the stage?
He's reaching terminal velocity jumping a coliseum.
Anime logic.
Anime logic. He has
Well,
no
manga
magic
logic.
powers, but he
Manga
can
logic too. Yeah.
fly.
Oh wait, so in the manga he just appeared?
He's just there. In manga logic is he's just in the stadium after the fight, and you're like,
he just appeared.
How did he
pulled a Goku and instant teleported there?
Yeah, he instant transmissioned into the Coliseum. Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
no
because
sense.
he was
Okay.
fighting with Scion, and then all of a sudden he's like, I have no time for this, and like runs off.
Yeah, and then he runs off, and then the next page he's in the Coliseum, and you're like, what? How did this happen?
Okay. Yeah, that's a time skip for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You remember, it's like the first time we really see Elfie as the adult Veggie.
Oh, what's on your mind?
We're just gonna skip that part. You remember the first time we see Elfie talking about how she's waiting for somebody and she's waiting for her sword, essentially, when she's talking to her. Like, so in the manga, the next, like when she talks, the following panel is just Will standing there looking up at Elfie.
Okay.
So they're making it 100% obvious what she's waiting for.
Yeah. Not just the sword, but the sword meaning Will.
Yes.
Which is obvious in the end, obviously.
Obviously. Yes.
So what's with them having the same last name? Are they sisters or like brother and sister or like from the same town? Like what is...
If I did not pick up on this whatsoever, without looking into it, they did make mention that they were part of the same orphanage. So I wonder if that has anything to do with anything.
Yeah, it's probably because they're orphans. So I'm just assuming that's a name of the orphanage.
Of the orphanage people?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Because like what? I was like, I don't remember them being related, but I remember them being...
Well, that would be a very weird relationship if they were related.
It wouldn't be the weirdest thing I've seen in anime.
Hey, sister.
But no, I don't think there's any incest in this show.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. I like how no, I guess you can't really see that in the manga. Like or can you? Does it show like in the anime it shows you the different colored hairs of everybody and that kind of, signifies their alliance or like the alliance of their magic powers. Can you see that in manga?
When you get a new volume, sometimes it'll be like the start of the volume will be colorized, as they call it, so you can get a better visual representation of what the characters look like.
Okay.
But if that doesn't happen, absolutely not. You have
Okay.
no idea.
I
Yeah.
was wondering about that.
So
To-
I will show you a
Oh.
picture of Elfie, and you can get a good idea of what to expect when it comes to her.
Mm-hmm.
While Matt pulls this up, I'm kind of under the understanding that your style of magic is strictly on your type of or your attribute of magic. So like there's a lineage of ice, there's a lineage of fire, and I think it's safe to say that Will has a lineage of potentially swordsmanship and Elfie has a lineage of ice. So I would like to imagine that there is no direct relationship between any kind of genetics or anything like that.
Okay. Well, I was like looking at the pictures and I'm like, oh, it's so obvious what their powers are, and I'm like, wait, is it obvious to Matt?
No,
Yeah.
I would say it's just a visual choice that the the animators made, which is fine.
Right.
Gotcha. Cool.
They don't have any of the betting stuff. Like they don't have that like part of an episode where they go to the underground like
Ooh.
gambling section. I'm drawing a blank on his name. The announcer guy, he doesn't keep talking about his bets and stuff like that. None of that happens.
Oh, there's no gambling in the manga.
There's no gambling in the manga, no.
Well, isn't that how they meet? Isn't that how they meet Scion? Like he was like seeing like what his odds were.
No. I mean, we see him, but no, that's not a reference anywhere in the manga.
Oh, interesting.
You find out that nobody gets recruited from the festival. We can kind of assume that in the anime, but yeah, just nobody gets recruited. When it comes to credits, here's some stuff that I wrote down. So the bats are worth 7 credits, the orcs are worth 8, and that snake is worth 9. So not very many credits. We're not getting a whole lot.
Okay.
So I think, Lance, what you were getting confused about was the rule of 10,000. I think that's what it was.
For the party to enter the praxis. Not the praxis, but the party.
Not the party.
Not the party.
It's how they figure out the credits.
Oh, per monster. Sorry, no, that's
Yep.
totally not what I was talking about. Like
Yeah,
I remember the episode talking about the 1 to 1,000 rule. I was just
Yep.
saying I remember your party needed to have a certain limit of credits in order to even enter into this tournament kind of thing for the crown.
Yep. So Wingnol, the green-haired elf, basically the friend of the group, the first time he's able to use his illusionary magic as an actual ability instead of just visual, it's called Alvis Linger. It was a lot better in the manga, to be completely honest. Like he made an entire forest to attack these fire creature things.
Okay. I'm glad you said that because, yeah, it was cool that he was able to make physical things come out of his illusionary magic.
Yeah.
And to the anime, it was just kind of like these wooden tentacles that came out and just did the damage, it's acceptable, but I would have liked to imagine that it could be a little bit more powerful.
Yeah, I felt that it was kind of underwhelming. Like, of all the forest kind of magic, especially with elves, I kind of expected it to be a little bit more colorful, I guess, like crystally, flowery. Like, I mean, they said they were the fairy groups of like the like Eleanor, the elf like queen or whatever. Like, she's head of the fairy faction, so I expected a lot more color and sparkles with their kind of magic.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just felt the wood was just very bland.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. So, last thing I have is just some notes when it comes to Will and his credits. He finished the Praxis with 5,817 credits, which was 1,383 credits short. So you needed, what was that? 7,200 credits to climb.
So he's getting held back a year?
No, you go 6 years or you're done, and that's it. Like you don't
so
get any
he's
extra
out
time.
of school. He's expelled now.
Oh, not quite. We're not officially done with the schooling as far as episode 12 is concerned. I mean, we still have a little bit of time left.
Oh, so he has time.
This just so
wasn't
happened
like the final exam?
No,
Yep.
this just so happened to be the one opportunity for them to score the most credits as far as battling can go. He's still short, so we still have like the last semester to go through.
Oh, okay.
No, you have have it's a little bit of behind the curtain. I'm caught up with the manga at this point, so I know exactly what happens.
Okay.
He has the final exams, and that's it.
Yeah, I was
Oh.
gonna say like he's like near the end, so it's essentially a moot point for him.
Oh,
Yeah,
Like
so
okay.
you
you
can
have your
try, but
Is it too much to ask these final exams is a make or break moment, or is there going to be something extra that we need, like extra credit of any sort?
no, it's make or break. So he
Okay.
either gets 100% or he fails. Like that's what it comes down to.
Okay, fair.
ooh, I like that. That makes me even more excited for season 2.
I will say if they stick to it, it'll be immediate. You'll know immediately what's going to happen. So there's no yeah. So that's nice. But that's all I got. Not a whole lot of differences. A little bit, but nothing too crazy.
All right,
Okay.
just for reference, how many chapters did season 1 cover again?
About 20 and a half.
And currently there is
46, 45, 46, somewhere around there.
all right, and
Okay.
is it still ongoing?
Yep.
Okay, great. So it's always good news. There's plenty of content to come.
Yeah, I will say easily everything that happened can fit in the same time span as far as a season 2, just to
Awesome.
kind of throw that out there.
So you think 2025 season 2 is imminent kind of thing?
I would probably say 26. I'm not 100% what the how often chapters are released because he's still doing Danmachi as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
So,
he's got another show.
yeah, he kind of got some other priorities going on, but
I always forget
can-
that they like write multiple shows. Like I always think like everyone's got their own little like show and that's their
What's up?
baby. But well, I always forget that like mangakus and these like the writers of all of this. I always forget that that there's multiple projects that they have. It's not just their one singular show that they stick to.
Yeah, they need multiple sources of income.
Yeah, like I always like to me I always imagine like, oh, like this is their baby, like this is their pride and joy. Then I'm like, oh wait, no, like this is their job, this is their livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's released monthly, by the way. So
Ooh,
yay.
okay, interesting.
Mm.
All right,
gotta
so
wait.
yeah, we can't expect anything too quick on that point.
No, which is okay. It's I will say the chapters are long. I would say probably on average 35-ish pages per chapter.
Okay.
So good amount.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for that update, and everyone can be on the same page as what to expect on any kind of differences.
Yeah, it was a really good read. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend this one as far as a manga is concerned because it was very, very well done. I will say I liked it.
Especially if you already continued reading ahead.
Yeah, I think I read the last like 10 chapters in a day.
Oh yeah, don't blame me on that. I've definitely been picking up on manga myself recently. It's easy. You just want to know what happens next.
Absolutely. And what's going to happen in season 2 just kind of sucks you and you're like, oh fuck, I gotta know what's going on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and honestly, I would say I like some of the character designs a little bit better in the manga. Like I liked Elfie better in the manga compared to the anime. They kind of made her seem more mature in the manga than in the anime, and just some stuff like that.
Yep, that's fair.
But let's get into the anime. We haven't talked about the anime yet, so let's get into this. I definitely want to get favorite characters out of the way. Alec, you want to kind of start us off with your favorite character?
Sure. So I definitely liked Colette, my favorite. I really thought that she did a really good job of always just like staying like really close to Will, staying his best friend, and like she was that pesky character where like even when she wasn't chosen to be part of the group, she's still staying right by his side, and she's like, if you pick Will, you're picking me as well. And it wasn't that she was just a side character. Like she held her own with those top players, and her stone magic it wasn't like anything to be like she wasn't a weak female character. She was really strong. She kept up with the other like main, big main characters. And I just thought overall I always liked like whenever she was in a scene, I'm like, you know what, she always has a good head on her shoulders. She's got this. So I definitely give Colette. She's definitely my favorite character. She didn't whine at all. Solid girl there.
Oh,
Right.
she did whine when
She had her moments.
when Rosti was
That-
all up in Will's business.
That was
She was
so
definitely
cringe.
whining.
That was
That,
such.
that
Yeah, I'm so glad because this is kind of like a throwaway part, but it's also at the same time like very interesting and very well worth the animation.
it made you think that Rosti was loving him for different reasons. Like it kind of all makes sense at the end, but like when that scene is happening, it's so cringe and you're just like, I was really hoping for this wholesome date, and here you go, Rosti being like, no, he's my gay lover, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's like,
Like
wait, what? Where
Will
did this come from?
talking about his package.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was funny. Did
Yeah,
not
he's like,
expect that
well, I'm
comment at all.
he's like, yeah, he's bigger than me. And she's like, wait, what's
What?
bigger than yours? Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. It was hilarious and cringe at the same time. It was great.
Yes, absolutely. I do have some questions about Rosti, but we can talk about him later.
Yeah, we
Oh,
can start diving into individual characters at that point. Matt, who is your favorite character?
I'm gonna go super chalk. It was Will. I loved Will in this. He was a lot of fun.
Yeah, he was a good boy.
Yeah.
he's tenacious.
And he strove for one goal. He did everything possible to achieve that goal. He was realistic in the manner of, he's like, hey, I know I cannot use a wand. I am going to put all of my effort into the other two things I can do. And I found it funny that they kind of broke the fourth wall a little bit when he finally got a little bit of fame to him, and Colette's like, oh, he's gonna like them because he's never had friends before.
Oh no. In fact, Colette was like, can't you see how upset you're making him by giving him all this attention just because he did so well?
Yeah.
And then it was actually just the opposite, about him feeling overjoyed about how much attention he's getting for once.
Yep.
He's like, this is
So-
awesome. You guys want to pair with me? Like, yeah.
I can
I've
have
been-
friends now? What?
Yeah, I've been bullied for the past 6 years of my life, and now I'm all of a sudden popular.
Mm-hmm. No,
Yeah,
that was great.
He was my favorite. He was a really good character, really likable character, and I didn't have really anything negative about him as far as throughout the entire series. Like there was nothing wrong with him.
Totally agree.
What about you, Lance?
I like your top picks. I am still kind of on a split between Scion and Julius, the fire user and the ice user. I really like
Really?
as far as rivals go, I think they're both awesome rivals. Scion at first was really cool. I liked how it's easy to get drawn into the angry rival type, but I think I kind of want to lean a little bit more towards Julius. When we first got introduced to him, he was just super high-end guy. He was really cool. But what really drew me in was not only is he strong, powerful, and he knows what he can do and can't do, and he's always striving to be even better. Like he's not on par with Elfie, but like he's making his stride. What really drew me in at the end was like episode like 11 or 12 or whatever, when they're in their beds after that dragon fight, and then Julius is like, I was your punching bag for this entire thing, and you used me in order to get this final attack in. Like, he's very, I don't want to say jealous, but like he wanted the recognition for his part in order to take down an opponent. But like the way he complained about it made it very comical. So I guess that's kind of where I'm going to lean towards. He was a very strong rival, and he was comical at the same time.
That's fair.
Zion, awesome character, but I did lean. It's also because in the past year, I've also been kind of leaning towards like ice type users. I'm really digging that attribute, but take that as you will. But I'm going to lean towards Julius for this.
Well, I feel like all fire users are like so stereotypical, explosive Bakugo types. Like, I mean, once you've seen one fire user, you've seen them all. But like, I will say he had a really cool backstory to his, and I liked his rationale for why he was a bully. Like, he's like, I was actually trying to protect you by like building you up, kind of thing.
No, more of he was going to protect him because he was going to be around him the whole time. But yeah.
If you're my underling, then no one else will beat you up. Like,
right?
He's like, what a great option.
For an
I did
11-year-old.
like that they said that though. Oh yeah, speaking of 11-year-olds, I think it might be fair to say like this is a 6-year program. You come in as a 10-year-old, you leave as a 16-year-old if you complete the full 6 years, unless you become the Magia Vander. So like I like that was kind of like stated to a degree if you understood the timeline enough.
Yeah,
So
that means
you don't-
for his childhood, he was fighting things that were literally trying to kill him.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a Magia Vander to leave the academy. You just have to get essentially scouted by one of the elements.
Right.
I kind of want to clarify that because that is a source of issues when it comes to like the big three, especially because none of them were scouted and they have significantly more points than everybody or credits than everybody else. Like even compared to Scion, I want to say Scion had like 8-ish thousand credits, and all the other three had 10,000+ credits.
Right.
And so if you're not, because you can get scouted at any time, which is how Elfie got onto the tower right away. I don't know how long it took her to be a Magia Vander. They don't
Didn't
really
she
bring
like
it up.
break the record as like she got there like within a year or something because she created new magic?
So that is what you need to do to so one of three things need to happen to get into the tower. You need to create a spell, you need to get the credits, or you need to be scouted. And she created the 12 spells, so that's how she was able to climb the tower essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't talk about how, they might have talked about it, but I don't remember exactly how long it took her to essentially be the Magia Vander. Because the thing is the Magia Vanders are the top 5 mages, and we know that there's more than 5 elements. So keep that in mind as well.
Okay.
Okay. From my understanding, and not to my understanding, but the way I felt that Elfie got recruited year 1, like almost instantly.
Yeah, that was my understanding as well. Like she was like beyond prodigy.
Yeah, I think
Right.
there was probably a minimum age of like, all right, you have to be able to get into the academy before we can recruit you. All right, you're in the academy. Go up to us now.
Yeah, because Will talks about how she's had these powers forever, and he's like, I was her childhood friend. Like I know the secret. Like what you're learning is what I was dealing with when she was a child. Like it's been years since then. Like what are you doing with these basic spells?
It sounds more like a punching bag than a friend, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Will went through quite the orphanage experience. It's just not shown.
He went through something.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
hey, he likes her, so whatever he
yeah,
did,
they
whatever
had a
she did was
friendship,
right.
and to his pro list, like he was able to train with her the entire time, and she taught him everything. He was able to learn. He was obsessed with learning about her, so it all worked out in the end.
I will say, not Julius, Scion was a contender for one of my favorite characters too. Simply because, like, one of my favorite, and I don't know if we want to get into this now. They are our favorite fight scenes.
I
Yeah,
mean, we
go for it.
can.
But okay, so honestly, mine was between Will and Scion when Scion just kind of like came out of nowhere in the forest and just kind of like sucker punched him with like spells
Yeah.
basically, and he just starts going into his like I'm someone to pay attention to, and then just starts like multicasting as like a basic mage. And he was like, wait, like even like fire spells aside, like what he's doing is beyond any mage's level of his caliber. Like he's being a crazy. And I was like, this is awesome. Like this is like fire magic to the extreme. Like this is
Yep.
like this is why I love anime like this. I love big fire spells. Like it's just so badass. And he launched all the coolest ones.
Exactly. And I don't remember what the actual phrase was, but basically not his familiar, but when he summoned that firebird
Oh, the
and
Phoenix thing, yeah.
yeah, and then when Will is like, usually this is like a defender of sorts, but he's using this as an attack source. I thought that was super cool. Like Scion was all about brute strength and just really going at it. Like it's kind of how his character is. He just wants to be the most powerful, and he's really shown it during that event. And it caught you off guard because I loved how they're supposed to be teammates, and then all of a sudden he's gonna say, "Screw this! I have a score to settle with you. We're gonna settle this right here and now. Don't look past me." I like the raw emotion that came out. We understood who he was and why he felt the way he felt. It brought a lot of raw emotions towards Scion. And up until that point, he was my favorite character, which is, essentially why I said I broke course and chose the other because of comedy. But Scion, he's definitely up there. He's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
So just like when he was getting recruited, he was good up until that point.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was so sad to hear.
It was wild as his biggest strength is also his biggest weakness. Like he's a really good mage, but he has no fucking control over himself.
Yep.
And the fire people were like, "Oh, well, he was good until now."
Yeah.
We'll make him graduate.
Yeah,
Give him a few months.
which kind of brings us to like the very next step that happened. After so let's skip. I mean, I know I'm kind of skipping the next fight with was Will versus Julius, but when Wignall was just kind of hanging in the shadows on the stadium, and he let Will and Julius fight it out, and then Elf Boy comes up and steals the crown afterwards. How did you guys feel about that moment? Because it was like we went through such an intense goddamn fight, and probably top 3 fights of this season 1, only to be swept up from underneath because of little minute rules. Like literally, the first one to the crown wins.
Yeah, I thought that was BS. I thought that was complete BS. Like that was so anti. I was like, what? What? That's where you're gonna go with this? Okay, okay. Where is this
Right.
gonna lead to?
I thought it was very within the realm of the character. It's very much an elf thing to do, to just be like, they can take care of it. I'm just gonna sweep in, do exactly what I need to do, and here's all my praise.
You guys remember the goal of this game, right? Like you didn't have to fight for it.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, very, very elf. I will agree with Matt. That was very elf-like behavior of like you guys for you silly humans. You forgot the reason of this game.
All pompous and everything.
No, his
Yeah.
character was
Lance, did-
severely unlikable until like the very end of the season.
Yeah, even still, he's still bottom tier for likability, but
Yeah.
you did appreciate him just a tad bit more.
That's fair. Lance, did you have a favorite fight?
I'll skip over the final fight, and I guess I will jump into the Julius fight with Will. That was a very entertaining fight for me. I like the idea of having copies, and not just like copies that are just there to just do whatever, but like copies that can control themselves. I think that's a very cool ability. And I mean, obviously we learned that this is one of Elfie's abilities that he kind of just learned on his own, but this introduced a whole different realm of magical attacks and abilities that we eventually learned that could be even better during the final fight. But we got to see a very awesome fight between Will fighting by himself, fighting Julius and his two cronies, and
Cronies.
just overcoming everybody at every turn. Like Will was on point the entire time. He knew where all these attacks were coming from, even though there was a mist that was blinding him. He was smart enough to try to detect that kind of stuff. And then ultimately, you know, with a little bit of anime logic, we learned that Will has already gone through this his entire childhood, because Elfie could make 10 copies of herself and just play with Will the entire time. And then here we have Julius trying his hardest and really doing what he can in order for, you know, Will to just come out on top. So it was really to me, like the biggest kind of I don't want to say make or break moment, because that's how we felt in the moment until Elf Boy came and stole the crown. But there was a lot of intensity going on in that fight, and I really liked it a lot.
I liked
Okay.
how during that fight, they did that like classic, like Daredevil scene where like everything's black, but he can like see like the sonar like signals or whatever, and like that's how he was detecting the ice magic coming at him. Question, Matt, was like are like the sonar scenes, are those in manga as well, or is that like anime specific?
No, he talks about how he can kind of feel everything. So
Okay.
he has like a sense. They talk about it, yeah.
But do they like show that like is scenery in manga?
I'm drawing a blank. I'm not 100.
Okay.
I can't say yes or no. I'm not sure.
Gotcha. It's just something that like I've always liked between like all and like I feel like every anime, I like Bleach, Naruto, this. I mean, everyone does it where like the screen just goes all black and white, and you just see like the ripple effects of all like whatever's going on, whether it's a fight scene or a range scene. That was one thing that I kind of had with this show though. Like they made it seem like it was just magic or sword using, and like his only option was being up close to these monsters with a sword. How come he couldn't use a bow and an arrow? Like, was that beyond the realm of possibilities?
We did see him throw a dagger at one of the monsters in the dungeon, so like he does have the capability of ranged attacks,
Like he knows it's a thing to attack from a distance.
right?
Must.
But
I don't know. Maybe you just can't carry enough arrows, so they don't.
that might be a thing. Other than avoiding the title wand and sword, we're not sword and arrow user here.
I don't know. I just felt very limited for his
Yeah.
non-magical abilities.
Wand and weapon, is that what it needs to be? So he can.
Wand and weapon.
Yeah.
Matt, what was your favorite fight scene?
My favorite one was the extra credit one with Edward, with Will and Edward.
Oh. Okay,
Ooh,
when he fought the teacher.
Yes, because I felt like it was the first time I really got drawn into the series because the fight with the Minotaur, whatever creature that he fought in the dungeon to save Scion, it was really cool, but we didn't really get too much magic. And the fight with Edward, it was so visually stunning because Edward, he was kind of holding back, but he wasn't really holding back. I say kind of only for the fact that he said he was only going to use one spell 1,000 times over, but one spell and a shield. So it's like you just got very enveloped in the fight between the two of them. It was the first time we got to see magic really being used, and I like watching it the second time through. I was like, yeah, this is the fight that I enjoyed the most out of this series.
I have one very funny comment to make on that scene itself. Colette came in at the end with a cheat code and just threw Will his sword, which gave him the final edge that he needed in order to not just endure the spells, but to take it further and win the assignment, because unarmed, Will couldn't do anything. So that was really funny to see him be on the defensive and then randomly obtain his sword and then come in with a win.
Well, it is wand and sword, so
Right. Yeah, he definitely needed that to do literally anything.
yes.
I loved his use of magical items, like the gauntlet and the dynamite bombs. Like he did a really good job of like I can't use magic, but I can use magical things. And I thought that was a pretty ingenious part of the show, like that he's still able to be a part of it without actually casting spells with a wand.
If it's one thing that this anime could have done that I would have accepted, is if Will could, like, yes, he can't have any kind of magical abilities, but if we gave him just a little bit of a tweak and gave him the ability to like manifest a sword, I would have accepted that just as much as not being
Like
able
an
to do
enchanted sword.
You mean like Black Clover?
Yeah. He pulls his book or his sword out of a grimoire, and just, or even if it came down to the point where he just always 100% walks around with his sword, much like any other wizard would walk around with his wand.
Well, he does make mention how at school he's not allowed to. So if he's anywhere else, he will have his sword.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Edward's just a big ass dick at that point, just catching him off guard. I mean, obviously it was make or break for his expellation.
Edward, he liked
that's the word.
He liked humiliating him. Like he brought him up to class, like, do this spell, like knowing full well that he can't do any spells.
Right.
Because he was a magic purist. Like he was basically like whatever his name, Lucius Malfoy Lucius Malfoy or whatever. Like he was a combination. This reminded me a lot of Harry Potter, honestly. Like magic aside, like that character was a combination of like Lucius Malfoy and Snape put together into the same character. Like he was a purist, but he also pushed him to his next level. So I thought that was pretty cool.
And he also respected it too. I'm glad he wasn't just like some complete asshole who's like, yeah, whatever, I'll get you next time. But he's like, you beat me.
He acknowledged it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a subtle hint that they make how he essentially is strong enough to be in the tower, but he's not.
Yeah, they made a quick comment about that. Like he came up short, but they didn't like really go into why.
Yeah.
It has to be that has to be explained in season 2. There's going to be some reason why, because I think Matt made a mention to it where like there's 5 Magia Vanders, but there's more than 5 types. Like stone isn't one of the Magia Vanders. The darkness spells that Edward uses isn't part of the Magia Vanders. So that makes sense that there might be a hierarchy class where ice, fairy, fire, and light, and lightning or thunder. I think thunder is the last one.
So we have ice, fire, fairy, thunder,
and light. They called it the light faction.
Yeah, because wasn't that like king guy that showed up in the end that took care of everybody
with the magic staff thing?
Yeah.
So he's essentially the
king,
the ultimate one. Give me 1 second, and the
he's
power
a
of the
member of
will
the
tell me
light
exactly.
Faction. Yeah, light faction is the thing. There's 5 factions, and light is the 5th.
Interesting.
I have it pulled up right here on his dude. His name is Aaron Old King.
Yep.
Because he's an old king.
Yep.
I guess.
How fitting.
Yeah, I think that's his name.
Rainbolt is the thunder.
Yeah, he definitely came in like a Thor type character.
Yes.
just with a staff instead of like a
So that
powerful hammer or something.
See, that's where I didn't like that. I didn't like how lightning and light were too similar. Like it should have been different things, I feel like.
yeah.
That
Like if it had
or
been wind and light, that would have been
oh
better.
yeah, something
But
Very
lightning and
weird.
light
visually.
made way too much.
I did find the different attributes just to give a quick rundown. So we have fire, water, earth, wind, lightning, light, and dark.
Yeah, and Edward is clearly the dark user.
Mhm.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, he's not allowed to be a Magiavander. So I think there's going to be a secret to that in season 2.
Yeah, it
so
might be a. I would have liked if there was like we have 5 seats for the Magia, but there's like 10 abilities. So like if there was like a yin and yang kind of thing for everybody, that would make a lot more sense too. But like that falls apart immediately because there's water and fire, which you would imagine would be a yin and yang kind of thing. So that would
one
take a deep dive.
One thing I want to make mention, I know they don't really talk about it enough in the anime. So the tower is where basically all the strongest mages are. There is more than just the Magiavanders within the tower.
Mm-hmm.
So just because you're not one of the 5 strongest doesn't mean that you're not ascended into the tower.
That's fair.
They're the ones who make the sun, though, the fake sun or whatever, the ceiling
The
kind
sky.
of thing, the magic.
They make the barrier. They make
Yeah.
the sky barrier. Yes, the
What-
5 Magiavanders.
Other than the mysterious sky and the mythical sunset, what else do they do?
That's really about it. That's their whole
Okay,
purpose.
that's all that's revealed to us so far.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything.
Until we start getting towards the end when they were talking about, one second, I made a note, going back to when we first ran into Headless, and he was saying that he wanted to destroy the false kind, and he wanted to break the barrier that will bring upon the calamity from the outside.
So Assassin and Headless have made their way in somehow.
Where?
They've made their way into the barrier somehow through the tower.
I think the dungeon is kind of like a
through the
pseudo universe into like a connector of sorts.
Oh, so they've made it from the very bottom all the way to the very top then.
Maybe, or that's just a route that they take to get into where the normal people are.
Okay. Yeah, because they were interesting. I liked them. They were a cool villain duo and a very capable villain duo.
Yep.
So I'm very excited to see more of them. But I was also very confused because I was like, so they kept talking about like the false sky, and they made it seem like they were on. I think they think they're good guys. I think they're on a good mission. I think they think the Magiavander are the bad ones.
I would only say no because when we got introduced to Headless, he said, "I'm just your typical villain." I think that might scratch. Like he said it very specifically. So I think.
Oh, so they're just maybe I missed that part.
Yeah, so I think they just want chaos.
Okay.
And I mean, villain is it depends on which way you're looking at it, on who is the villain, because they might think that they are the good guys and that they are bringing the natural world back and yada 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 yada, whatever bullshit that they want to talk about. So
Right,
to them, they're the good guys.
What was the assassin's point? Like, did you ever realize like he kept talking in circles? Did you ever understand what he was saying?
Which assassin?
The assassin, the guy that's with Headless.
So he's the one that talks about that sword.
Yeah, and they said, see, I got really confused on that. Is the sword that Finn got different from the sword that Assassin has?
No.
Or did he take that from Assassin?
Those are different. That was different. Finn said specifically that he was on like floor 48 at the end, and he found the sword that some faction deep within was obtaining and creating weapons to be the Mage Slayer or whatever the sword was called.
Yeah, Mage Slayer.
So I think this weapon and these two villains that we ran into.
But it was broken. When he's showing Cauldron, it's broken. But when Assassin is drawing it, it's whole. So that's why I'm like, are there two different swords? Is this a broken sword from him fighting Assassin? And are we seeing this in the future? That's the part of like the end of the season where I was like, what happened here?
It's a multi-made sword. So it's another one, but it's broken. It's another one of.
So there's two Mage Slayers, and one of them is found, and one of them isn't. Oh, that's cool. I like that.
So we're going to take a quick moment and take a break, and we will continue this dungeon conversation very shortly.
yeah, now that we're back from our break, we are going to be doing things a little bit different this time. See how it works, see how we like it. Lance, you want to let us know what the Japanese word for today is?
Spirit Guide!
Today's Lance's Lessons of the Day is going to be the Japanese word for ice, and ice is kori. Kori is very relevant to today because we have an ice user, Julius, and we haven't used ice in these past 90 episodes, and ice is kind of, around today's time of climate because we're approaching winter, so you can say, like, maybe I'm going to throw a kori ball at somebody and really mess them up because that would suck.
Just don't throw some Cory at ice and it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so Cory ice. Maybe you can use that in your day-to-day language.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, to get back into our conversation about the dungeon. How the fuck did what's-his-face get into the dungeon?
Who? What?
That's very broad. You gotta need to Are we talking about Headless? Are we talking about the assassin?
Roasty.
Rosty.
Oh, Rosty.
Rosty.
Okay, I'm glad you
how
said this because at first glance, when this whole dungeon thing happened, Rosty was like, "Yeah, I can't be part of your crew. Good luck." But then progressed. We did see him in the dungeon, but he was part of this like very specific like I'm just gonna say clan. So I feel like he was part
He was
of
by
like.
himself, dude.
Oh, I thought he was part of like some support crew.
No.
Oh,
He
okay.
was literally
He just
all
kinda
by
showed up.
himself and just
Okay.
threw a random chunk of ice at Will. And Will was like, "Oh
Please
yeah, that's
remember.
right. It's and let
Yeah.
me get this." And I'm just like, how the fuck did Rosty get to where they are? Like,
You know what? This very specific scene happens in Resident Evil 2, where Leon is fighting a very strong monster, and then Ada Wong comes out of nowhere with a fucking rocket launcher, and he's like, "Here, use this."
kind of.
Rossi throws this rock at Will.
It's ice.
Ice? Are you
Yeah,
really?
it was ice.
I thought it was a crystal.
I
it
was gonna
was-
say crystal.
What's our Japanese word? I already forgot it.
Korai.
No.
Kori.
Yeah, he threw Cory at Will, and Will's like, "Oh yeah, in his childhood, it's wand and sword." And then he tells Scion to shoot him with some fireballs.
Mhm.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, Cory.
So we have this.
There's a lot of
object,
anime logic there.
This piece of ice that you say.
Yes.
What exactly did he do with it? Because Will was like, "Hey, shoot a magic spell at me," and he absorbed it with his sword. But what exactly was the purpose of this piece of ice?
I think that was the catalyst.
It was a catalyst to remind him of his past.
Okay, I can jump on board with him with this piece being a reminder, but I really
I thought
wanted
he
it.
merged it. I thought
Right?
he held it with the sword,
That's
and then it
what I
merged
wanted
with the
it to be.
magic.
No, it was
Wait,
just
so what? That
it
was the memory thing?
It was literally just a catalyst for him to remember his past.
Okay, that's a little lackluster. I would have liked this to be a little bit more
I thought it was like a fusion thing going on.
crazy.
No,
Like
and that's
magic and sword.
That's exactly why I'm like, what the fuck? Why is he down in the 15th floor of the dungeon when nobody else could be there? But here he is, just standing there behind everything like, "Hey, don't die, Will."
Right?
So I have a theory that Rosty is part of the Finn clan, and I think that Isis or whatever her name, Iris,
Iris.
Definitely not ISIS.
I think that terrorist organization is part of.
No.
No, I think Iris or Stella, whatever her name is. I think Stella, Finn, and Rosty are all part of that same Finn clan that they call where they are just. I think they're super creatures. They are definitely above humans and wizards or whatever. I think Rosty.
Sorry to cut you off real fast. So Stella is like the mysterious person that calls Will her like senpai, and it's just to remind our audience who she is because she really only gets a little bit of screen time. So she's the one with pigtails. It's just very mysterious. She obviously knows
Stella
everyone.
Iris was the one. She's wearing glasses, and then
sometimes she's cheering on Will because she has a split. She does not have a split personality, but she has a job, and she's cheering on Will. But at the same time, she's going up to the Magia, and she's being like, "Hey, I found a recruit, and he's super awesome. You should."
She's like a watcher, isn't she?
Right. Yeah, she's a
Something like
watcher.
that.
That's the phrase they use. She's a watcher. So
Yep.
she's got a job. I wrote in my notes that she's in her 4th year. So she's been here for 4 years. At least as far as she's told Will. We don't know for sure. I mean, that's just what we know. But she's very suspicious.
Yep.
Yeah, she has a backstory that has not been revealed yet, not fully.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So sorry, continue now that we've kind of talked about who she is.
Yeah, so with Rosti making his way like instantaneously down to the 11th floor, I think he has abilities that are way beyond measure, and I think he's very capable. I think he can make it to the 11th floor with ease, and I think he has a storage of magical items to help aid Will in his endeavors to be a mage.
He's got
I
some
think
kind
he's
of,
like the guardian person
yeah,
for him.
he's got some kind of goal in mind, that's for sure. Like
Yep.
what we just saw, he snuck his way into where they are, and we know his capabilities of making these items that are just super awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know.
He's the one who made the gauntlet. He made the dynamite. So he's the one who makes the magical items.
Yeah, he makes. I don't remember the actual artifices. Like it wasn't. It was like a weird word, artifices. I think that was right.
Mhm.
But like, yeah. So he
Sure.
has this knowledge of doing these things, but like we don't know his backstory. We don't know where he falls along with credits or how long. We can assume he's kind of been there as long as with the 6 years deal. But like he definitely has more to share with his true intentions of what's going on.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Does it ever reveal what Kiki is, the cat?
Not.
Yes.
Because Werkner can like see the crystals, like it's in her head, but like what is
Right.
she?
So that is his familiar.
Oh, okay.
He tells Edward, "Oh, she's my familiar. I can see where Will is because of her."
Oh, so it's Wilkner's familiar following Will around for Wilkner's own calm of mind kind of thing. It's that's kind of where it is because
Kind of, it's to help Will because she obviously has some ability to block minor
magic.
attacks. Yeah.
right, like we saw Kiki dispel that gambling barrier that was up. So like we
Mhm.
know that Kiki can do things, but like other than that, Kiki's only responsible for like Will's GPS more or less.
Mm-hmm. Keeping tabs.
Yeah, kind of. Which we know he can create his own maps with blood. So, that's kind of
Well,
whatever. But
the
yeah,
blood
yeah,
of
yeah.
the user who had it, which is interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Is Cauldron a teacher or is she like a
I take her as like
judge? What is she?
I think her as like a principal of sorts.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
she's like a
the
headmaster or something.
Yeah, she's the principal of the school.
Okay, that I was trying to figure out what her whole role was with the show, and I was like, she's definitely a controller of strings, but I don't know of what.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's an interesting character.
Damn, what's the name? Finn?
Yeah,
Finn?
Finn. Finn's the guy that holds all the gear and supplies for
God
King
damn it.
Aaron or whatever.
Yeah, so the Finn it's a group of individuals, almost kind of seems like a clan that helps mages navigate
Traverse.
deep dungeons. Yeah.
Yeah, they apparently they have the map that's been everywhere kind of thing, or they are the map because they've been everywhere. I don't know. They have a weird role, and I think Finn is plural. I think Finn is multiple people. That's what I got the gist of. That there's going to be multiple Finns.
So it's a tribe of individuals.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
named
think it's just
Finn.
the title of his crew.
Yep.
But
Oh, okay.
I think Finn is Finn. It's just that crew that we saw him with when they came and saved the day at the end. I think that clan is called Finn.
Do you think Finn
So-
and Rosti are related?
Potentially.
That's what I am leaning towards to a degree
Mhm.
because I would like to imagine that since Finn has such a fascination with the sword and how minorly upset he was with Cauldron keeping that information from him, like how he's in charge of the sword faction versus the wand faction.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's more or less going to be the shadow principal of a whole different category of people.
Okay.
That's the only kind of sense I can make now because he was obviously capable enough to be part of this high-end crew, even though we saw him being like the backpack carrier of the superpower people that came in. But he's also the narrator. I don't know if you guys caught on to that when you rewatch the series. He's the narrator of the season 1 at
Ye-
least.
See,
So
I
he's
thought
gonna
it
be
was
special.
Rosti. I thought Rosti was the narrator until I heard Finn, and I was like, wait, no, Finn's been the narrator. I didn't catch that until the end.
Right. So he's obviously going to be super important. We can only imagine that he's going to be strong in his own right. So he's definitely someone to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you guys think about Finn? He's obviously interested in the sword. What are your expectations out of him?
I think there's going to be a faction of Wills in like season 2. I think he's going to find out that he's not alone in non-magical ability, and Finn's going to introduce him to a whole world of non-magical users that are very useful in the magic world.
Agreed. I would take it a step further that there's like a bloodline lineage that gives them this power, because they explained in like episode 1 or 2 where Will's sword strikes have the same power of like an electrical strike or whatever. Like he just has this power behind all of his sword abilities. So I want kind of like that aspect to be further exploited and explain why Will is such an outlier compared to all of these wand users.
Okay.
Okay.
Matt, I
Interesting.
can see you're thinking something. What's going on?
So I have to talk about it as if I know nothing. And my original intent was I believe Will is going to sit back and observe and kind of see how he can manipulate things to go how he wants them to, but I don't think he's going to interfere in any way. Does that make sense?
That's fair. I mean,
What you mean Finn's not going to interfere?
Yeah, I don't think he's
With-
going to
with
do
Will?
anything with Will or with any of the things that Cauldron wants.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
I feel like he's
Sorry, I
just
thought you were
gonna
talking about Will.
Yeah, no, sorry. Finn. I feel like Finn is not gonna he's just gonna kind of see how things progress and see where they go, but he is going to be very much aware of Will. And if anything were to happen, because I feel like Will's gonna be a one-off, like he is something that's unique even to Finn's world. But so because of that, I feel like he's gonna keep a close eye on him, but he's not gonna
Mhm.
interfere in anything.
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
He's going to watch from a distance kind of thing. I could see that because he did respect Cauldron. He's like, swords are meant for me, but I'll let you have this one because he wants
Yep.
to be a wand.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
And
it's just kind of
it could be a thing where Finn, I don't know if Finn and his party saw what happened in the end during that final battle, but with the combination of Will's absorbing of magic powers into his sword, I think that might be a brand new concept to the sword users. And I think that will ultimately be the idea of the title of this story, Wand and Sword, where they combine two powerful entities into one in order to essentially save this world.
Well, Edward and Werkner were both they recognized what Weiss was when they were watching him from the crystal ball. So they recognized that combining sword and wand was a thing, but they were acting as if it was like an ancient concept that hasn't been brought forward in a long time.
That's an
So
interesting idea.
I will say that it is a concept that is brought up in essentially fairy tale.
So it's like a mythical ability.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I like that.
So
So they were like,
it's
oh wow, like this is reality then.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because I can say that without spoiling anything. Like there's
Because they definitely recognized it. They're like, oh, Weiss. Like that's what that is.
yeah. So this is supposed to be a anomaly, a mythical event that happened. So it's very interesting.
On top of interesting, we saw that Finn is going way beyond floor 15 that we are familiar with as far as like episode 11 goes. So with him exploring, what was it, like floor 48 or 49?
49, yeah.
How deep do you think this dungeon, not this dungeon, but this cave can go?
My guess is 100.
That was
I
my
feel
first
like,
guess too.
yeah, because when they're like, oh, we made it down to like to level 50, like 49 this time. Like that makes it sound like 49 is like deep, but not as far as it goes.
Right, like it was just like a casual, like, hey, let's see what's going on down here, because obviously they were exploring that Mage Slayer sword.
Mhm.
They might have came across that. I don't know if they're exploring that specifically, but obviously something was going on down there, deep within the dungeon, and they needed to respond to it to some degree.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
So-
very very curious about the floor leveling.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you guys. I think it's going to be 100. One thing, when we first get introduced to the Magia Vanders, they're talking about how the old mage or the old king, whatever, basically the king, he is off exploring the dungeons again. So that's a subtle reference to what's going on with Finn, which we find out, they're all in the dungeon exploring. The sword that they come across was just a happenstance kind of thing.
Right.
And I
They
feel
weren't
like,
searching for it, but they found it.
yeah, and I feel like they're just trying to see, all right, what's deep? How strong do these things get when we go deeper?
Because I mean, like they're on floor 11, and like these kids are getting like nearly annihilated by these monsters.
Well, so they're on floor 15 when
I thought they're on 11.
no, they get where the Grand Duke is 15.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yep.
11
Like-
happened because they had access to level 10,
Mhm.
and then the Grand Duke made a hole and exploded the ground, and they fell into 11, and then things went tits up from there, and things only got worse.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I can only imagine, which puts into question these teachers kind of like they seemed like they knew like how to handle levels 10 through 15 to some degree, but then this came into the play and totally threw things through a loop. So Headless puts a big question mark on everything. Like if we know that we can explore up to floor 49 with somewhat ease, where does Headless and his partner fall in?
Yeah, because they're clearly trying to make their way to the school.
Right.
Like they're trying to make their way out of the dungeon, and if they're on floor 15, 10, 11, whatever, they're making their way to the end. And these guys are clearly extremely powerful to the point where like they don't even view the kids as even a problem. Those are just gnats. Like let's just send the Duke after them. Like he's level 250, so they're
Yeah.
way above 250.
Yeah, and this also brings into focus that we saw other monsters that were supposed to belong on higher levels that are making their way to lower levels. So something is happening within this floor system that's only going to cause drama for what season 2 could show us. So this makes me think that I don't want to say like, hey, there's our hero school on the surface level, and then like there's our enemy school on like level 100, and their goal is they're complete opposites, and they're trying to take over the world versus save the world kind of thing.
I wouldn't go that far. Maybe so much as far as like the dungeon is just more of a realm of monsters, and the deeper it goes, the stronger they get because the conditions are harder there. Because I mean, if
Right.
you notice, like each floor had its like level of difficulty, and like when they broke into like floor 11, like it was like a neurotransmitter network. It was like a brain essentially. So I think like each level gets harder to survive in, which makes it harder for the demons to live in, which makes them stronger, kind of thing.
Right.
Do you follow?
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
This only makes me think that we have a very big problem with this whole dungeon system as we explore deeper and deeper. But we also have to remember on the outside world where the sky looks perfect. What's on the outside of the sky? Like, is the Magi only protecting a certain radius of people, or how big is this world that they're actually protecting?
Yeah, I'm very curious about that one. I will say, don't think too deeply about the dungeon. There's not a hidden school underneath the dungeon or something.
Okay.
Just realm of demons kind of thing.
Yeah, they talk about it in the anime how the dungeon is spawning more demons. So that's pretty surface level as far as where these creatures are coming from. I'm curious about Assassin and Headless and just what their intentions are. I can tell you season 2 explains, or the beginning, we are going to get very good explanations immediately following or in season 2. We'll just put it that way.
Okay.
I have a question. When they were in the hidden room or the hidden level, the like level 11 or whatever, they came across like a snake and stuff. Do you remember what level those things were?
So the snake was 9 credits. The orc was 8 credits and the bats were 7.
Okay, and compared that to the Duke and the other demons, those were like 250.
Yeah, the
So
Duke was like 270.
they had no business being on a level like that kind of
Right.
I
thing.
mean, maybe, or they might be like wolves where they all kind of just stay in their own area. I want to say like the Manitar creature things were like 11 credits because Will killed one in the saving Scion, and I
But
think that was
even he
11
was like,
credits.
"What is this doing here?"
Yes, but they were on level like 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they,
I think at that point, like a level 10 creature was at level 5.
Yep.
So that was already an anomaly to begin with. So
Mhm.
that's why I said earlier that monsters from other areas were creeping their way up. So I think that needs to be addressed at some point. And that might be because of Headless and Assassin, like messing things up. But
Mhm.
Yep.
there's a
Okay, I can
disturbance
see
in the
that.
force, that's for sure.
Okay, I do have a question.
Mhm.
What do you make of Will's mom?
We don't know
It's
this,
an
right?
orphan.
We know nothing.
Okay, I was
The
gonna say,
only
did I miss
the
something?
only thing we know is there is a woman in black essentially talking about a small child and being like, I need to give him up for destiny or something along those lines. I don't remember the exact verbiage, but basically she's talking to another woman, and it is essentially made mention that this needs to happen and I can't raise this child. We assume it's Will because that's just the easiest assumption. I think it was because of the context of what was going on, and that this child is destined for something. And that's really like the only bit of information we have about Will's mother.
Yeah, I mean, this is the fun idea of playing with orphans is the casual trope of an orphan, his original parents are of great power until, we get to that point in the future.
Yeah.
So my first assumption is that she gave up Will because if she were to train Will or at least raise Will under what she knows, nothing's going to change. So that if she puts him into the world of the wands, that there could be a potential for actual change.
What if Will's mom was a Magia Vander and she had a son that couldn't use magic?
Or maybe what if Will is the child of a wand and a sword, and then he's the product of the two, which
Ooh.
allow kind of like going like a Bleach route, gives him the capability of honing both.
Yeah. Okay.
That'd be interesting because we know that, non-wand users are very much looked down upon. So the likelihood of offspring of a non-wand user is probably minimal.
Yeah, because they're definitely purists by nature, and magic rules all. So the swords are, first of all, hidden. There's not a single other sword other than Will. So
Right.
that means they have to be somewhere else if they're under Finn's discretion.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd like to see. I like to imagine that as well.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting. I'm curious about his mom. You guys have any other questions?
Not so much questions, but kind of expectations. We saw
Okay.
we saw other than like the king guy, the light user. We saw the other Machiavelli. Did I say that right?
Magia
Vander.
Vanders.
Thank you. We saw the others, the elf user and that electric user he kind of had like a dwarven kind of characteristic about him where he just wanted to battle and he didn't give two shits about anything else. The point being is I want to see them come into action. We got introduced to them very early in the series. We got introduced to them again late. So I would like to see them play some kind of a significant role in what's going to happen next when either the dungeon below gets out of control or Headless starts to make strides towards collapsing the sky and allowing Calamity to take over. Like, obviously, we need a drama. So either end of those scenarios, I would like to see them come into play.
Okay. What about you, Alec? What are you looking forward, or what do you expect for season 2?
For season 2, I definitely want to see some like organization and structure behind Assassin and Headless. I want to know what
Okay.
their purpose is. I want to find out more about the campaign into the dungeon and what they're looking for. Like obviously the Mage Slayer sword was part of it, but I want to know like exacts what they're looking for. And I don't know. I guess like I want to see these kids develop a little bit more. I think they did a really good job of showing everyone's like base capabilities, but I want to see them, make that next step of growth. Like especially like Scion. I see a lot of growth in Scion. I think he's going to be a big contender the next season.
Cool. Yeah, I can see that.
What about you, Matt?
I want to know how Will progresses. That's my biggest question. Like,
Because
what
he's
does
way
he need?
behind.
Yeah, he's super behind. At this rate, he is not graduating. He's not going up the tower. Is he going to go with Finn? Is that how he's going to achieve his goals? Is something else going to happen where he can achieve his goals? Like, is he going to graduate? Like, what's going on there? Because we know he wants to be with his love, which is not Colette. It is Elfie. So how does he get there?
Yeah,
Because
I would. Just on top of that, I would like to see him explore the capabilities of combining magic powers with his sword too. Like, can
this
this
Whis
be?
ability.
Mhm.
Yeah, how broad can this capability be? Like, can it combine with electric powers? Can it combine with water powers? What if he combines multiple powers at the same
Ooh.
time? Like, this could be like the Avatar of stuff. You never know.
You're absolutely right. I would like to see that. I would like to see him combining the sword with other magical abilities.
Can he get all of the elements together and make one tri-blast thing going on?
Summon
Yep.
all 5 pieces of Exodia. I mean, it can be done.
That could be the finale right there. Obliteration. That's how we win.
Exactly. Yes. I'm hooked. So I've not asked you guys this question. I was hooked pretty much from the first episode. What did you guys think of this show?
I'll let you go, Alex.
I'll go first. I thought this was a very strong show. I would rate this a solid 7 or 8 out of 10. Definitely worth watching. Great and honestly, like anime quality in general, this is one of a top tier anime. Like this is something you would like quality wise, you would expect this kind of stuff from a top tier anime, and seeing it in a season 1 gives me a lot of hopes for the future seasons. I think plotline, this has a lot of room for development. I definitely look forward to season 2. So for like those combined together, like anime quality and plot development in general, I would give this a solid. Definitely give the show a chance, and definitely wait for season 2 because I think this is going to be a strong contender anime for multiple seasons.
Totally agree.
Awesome.
There was moments in like episode 1 where I got like old school Disney vibes, where like when Will was like super excited and like he threw his hands together and he's like, "Yes, I finally got some points." Like that reminded me, just that little tiny scene reminded me of like old school Disney kind of stuff. But on top of that, I totally agree with what you're saying about animation quality. That's top notch. Everything was super beautiful the entire way through. I would rate this more towards like a 8.5. I know I'm very easygoing typically, but the animation was beautiful. The story was great. I'm very interested in what happens next. So because of that, I can't rate this much lower. Not that I can argue why I wouldn't rate it higher, but this was a solid story. And I'm very much excited about anything and everything that comes out of this. What about you, Matt?
Got me in mid drink. Oh man. Okay, so first I want to say this was this was my favorite show of the summer season. It was so fantastic. Easy, solid 8. It was kind of everything you're looking for in this style of anime, in this genre of anime, the action kind of thing. It was very well done. All the characters were captivating. I'm thinking about it again, and just like their eyes were super unique and fantastic. Just kind of like that's really the thing that drags me in when it comes to anime, because we get all these close-ups of their faces, and the eyes on all of these characters were just stunning and very well done and very unique to each individual person, which I really enjoyed. I really liked everybody had like they didn't really double up too much as far as magical powers were concerned. Yeah, we had multiple people using like fire and ice. You have the very top of the top, Elfie doing one thing, and then the next time we see magic, it's like, all right, there's a huge drastic difference between what the very best of the ice ability is and what just kind of like a good ice user is. So it's very drastic and it's very easy to tell. And then the pacing was so good. You could easily binge this in one day and you'd be like, oh, I guess it's over. So I really enjoyed enjoyed it, obviously, because I kept telling you guys you needed to watch it. So that kind of says everything you need to know about this one.
Oh yeah,
As,
definitely.
as someone who loves magic, I think this was a great show to just if you like Harry Potter, if you like Sword Art Online, you're gonna like this show. Like just guaranteed.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Very, very good. And I'm glad you guys enjoyed it because I guess I wouldn't have known what to recommend anything if you guys didn't enjoy this one.
Yeah, no, this was a super solid anime. 100% glad I watched this.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. But before we go, Lance has been stumping me specifically with Pokemon questions. Hopefully, Alec and his Pokemon nerdum can assist me and make sure that I get more than one right this time.
Bring it on.
All right, let's jump back into season 1 material because it's a little more familiar with most people.
Season 1 of Pokemon?
You mean
Yeah.
Gen 1?
Gen 1,
Oh.
yeah. Sorry.
I was gonna say we're going to the anime now. Oh man.
Well, this might be interesting. My first question. In the Pokemon manga, who is Red's first Pokemon?
Who's Reds?
Yep. In Pokemon Adventures, we follow the character Red. Who is his very first Pokemon?
It's not one of the starters. I know that for a fact. Alec is like I never
I-
read the mangas, so
I want to say Geodude. I don't know why it's ringing a bell, but Geodude.
All right, Matt, do you remember?
you
You have them all upstairs.
I have 3 of them, thank you. Not all of them.
Well, I meant the original, yeah.
Yes. Oh man. Was it like I know it was weird
Mm-hmm.
and it was an evolution, wasn't it?
Yep. All right, no more hints. Sorry.
That's okay. Hey, at least I'm remembering those things. So, sorry, it wasn't Geodude. Was it like, oh man, I want to say it was a bug, but it wasn't a bug Pokemon. Man, I am just gonna, I don't know, Pidgeotto.
Okay, you're both wrong. When the manga opens up, his first Pokemon is Poliwhirl.
What?
Poliwhirl, yeah, that's his start. That's the very first Pokemon that we know him to have.
Okay.
All right, now
It's
for
like-
a little bit of context, when he does meet up with Professor Oak, his starter Pokemon that he gets from him is a Bulbasaur. And then later on through the series, you find out that Red caught Poliwhirl as a Poliwag, so things happen. But chapter 1, right away, he has a Poliwhirl.
Ah, did not know that.
Yeah, very interesting. So left field, something you never quite imagine.
Sounds about right.
All right, question 2. In Red, Blue, and Yellow, who is the last gym leader?
Oh.
I'll let Alec go first. Or yeah, I'll let you go first.
I'm
I
on
do
a
remember.
replay right now, and I'm on the 5th gym.
Oh, you're still on the 5th gym? It's been like months.
I have not played in a while.
He's a daddy.
That is very
He's had
obvious.
A minute.
Yeah, I'm about to be a daddy of 2, so yeah, the Pokemon has been put on the back burner, unfortunately. The
Number
last
2's not
gym
here. Don't give
leader-
us that excuse.
I can't remember.
Matt, do you
Uh,
remember who gym leader number 8 is?
It's Giovanni.
It is Giovanni, the leader
Oh
of
my
Team
gosh,
Rocket.
I thought he was in the Elite Four.
No.
No.
What?
Nope, Giovanni
He's my
is the
last?
ground type user.
Oh, shit.
Because remember,
Okay.
he's in the first city that you go to, and the gym leader's just not there.
Yeah.
And then once you defeat Giovanni in Team Rocket Tower or something, I don't remember exactly. I think it's where it is.
I think you
he
find him like
is-
In their
twice
base camp.
fire, but yeah.
Yeah, you fight him in the underground, and then you fight him in like the tower or something like that. And
Mhm.
yeah, after that second time, he's like mysteriously back in his gym because you've got all 7 badges or 6 of the 7 badges at that point, something along those lines.
7 of the yeah. He is the absolute ace.
Yeah.
And if you want any kind of anime references, he is the final gym there too. But for whatever reason, Giovanni has captured Mewtwo. And that's where we get introduced into Armor Mewtwo because he's fighting Gary and he's using his Armored Mewtwo versus his like Nidoking and Arcanine, and he just totally obliterates him. Gary already has like 16 badges, so it doesn't matter to him, but he couldn't beat Giovanni, so that was very interesting.
Interesting. Cool.
Which I'm upset I don't have any armored Mewtwo's in Pokemon Go, but that's here nor there.
Armored Mewtwo's got introduced like pretty early on Pokemon raids, and if you didn't have a crew to go with, like you were just SOL.
Yep.
Sucked.
Very upsetting.
All right. Question number 3. What level does Kabuto evolve at?
Kabuto? The
Mhm.
bug?
I mean, kind of.
Technically, no. He looks like a
Yeah.
bug, but he's not a bug.
Fair. Yeah, he's the fossil Pokemon.
I'll give you a hint. He's a rock water type.
Yeah, I thought it was more bug.
He looks like
But
one.
yeah. 44. Final answer.
I'm gonna say 28.
For our listeners, Matt's guessing 28 because a lot of our past questions have random ass Pokemon that do evolve at 28 in Gen 1. But
Yes.
I'm here to tell you that you guys are both wrong.
Oh,
Of course.
Alec, you were very close. Kabuto and Amity both evolve at level 40.
I knew it was a 40. God dang it. Oh my god.
Such a useless Pokemon to evolve at too. Like there's no reason for it to take that long to evolve.
The problem with Kabuto is it doesn't really get strong until like level 82 or 84. And then once you get to that point, its Earthquake can literally kill everything.
Yeah.
So it's one of those like long con Pokemon where you just gotta keep leveling him up and then he becomes OP at the 80s. But until then, yeah, I will agree with you. He is rather useless.
Yeah, I mean, unless you don't know. I remember the first time my friend got a Kabuto, and I was not that far. We were children. And then back when we had our Game Boys and we had the link cable, and he was further in the game than I was. And he's like, okay, let's battle. And he threw a Kabuto at me. And this is back when my Pokemon knowledge was next to zero. I had no idea what typing this thing even was. And he was just obliterating me with everything. And he taught his Kabuto Surf, which was a very strong move. And it's just going to kill everybody. But until you know better, use a grass type move and you'll just destroy that thing. But still.
How many people started with Bulbasaur? How many kids started with Bulbasaur? No one.
Yeah, right. Not many.
I mean, I would, but
You would now, but did you as a kid?
No.
yes,
No.
because I played multiple times. So I would just be like, I'm gonna start with Bulbasaur this time, or I'm gonna start with Squirtle this time, or I'm gonna start with Charmander. Like it was no.
That being said, Bulbasaur was always my third choice. I did Charmander first, Squirtle second, and then I played with Bulbasaur just
Yeah,
because
Bulbasaur is always
switch
last.
it up. Yeah.
No, so Bulbasaur was usually a lot of times he was my first choice because of getting through Brock and Misty.
Exactly. Yeah. He's
It
the
is
smart
the best
choice.
early game start.
Exactly.
And that's why I would usually pick Bulbasaur because I was terrible and I really didn't. I just was like, how do I beat these gym leaders? All right, well, let me get Bulbasaur so I can beat them and not care about really. Yes, I didn't want a Butterfree. Like Butterfree kind of
You
sucks
can get a
too,
Butterfree at
so
the beginning of the game.
I'm
And it can
100% aware.
learn a whole bunch of useful skills.
Or you can get Bulbasaur and catch better Pokemon like
Yeah.
Pidgey, and that's about the only good Pokemon in the beginning. But Pidgey, yes.
If your starters were Beedrill, Butterfree, Charmander, and Pidgeotto, were you really a true gamer?
Yeah. I
Those
mean, that's a
everyone.
decent start, especially for absolute beginners. Yeah.
hmm
I mean, I really remember playing a lot on Yellow. So, having to get through Brock with a electric Pokemon was the
Oh, it's
biggest pain in the ass
impossible.
in the world.
It's literally impossible. Like I hated that start. I was
Yeah.
like, why do they do this? They literally, it was just to piss kids off because they're like, I
They
want to
hate
do
children.
Pikachu,
Yeah.
and then they realize that Pikachu can't do shit against Brock.
Yep.
What do
The
you
only
mean
way-
I can't use Thunderbolt against Onyx? It works in the anime. Why can't I do it in the
Yeah,
game?
right. Yeah. No, the only way to get through Brock and Yellow was to catch a Mankey or a Nidorino or Nidorina. That was your best bet.
hmm
I used Pidgey, evolved it into Pidgeotto, and then would get Butterfree and use those two to get through.
Yeah.
You got to get Pidgeotto and Butterfree, so you're talking about a lot of grinding in the first level of the game.
Yeah, that's a
You're
lot to ask
basically
for.
spending the whole first 3 hours just running in the same circle of grass, just leveling up.
Yep. Yeah, it's a tough
You're at a-
start. It's not that fair.
No,
All right, but yeah,
Pokemon
Never
was- yeah.
never something they do with the games nowadays.
no.
Kids would rage quit.
Oh my god, if kids
Oh,
if
but-
kids in our age group were to grow up in today's age like video game styles, it'd be like they wouldn't even be interested. They'd be like, what is this? This is too easy.
Too easy.
Yeah, that's
We were challenged as children, and that's why we became better gamers.
Very true.
that's debatable, but
Yeah.
I don't
so
got
yeah,
anything else.
All right, so that's going to conclude our Pokemon quiz for today. And that's also going to conclude our talk for today's conversation. So thank you, everybody, for listening to us this far. Please make sure to give us a listen to any platform that you are listening to us on. Please give us an additional follow on YouTube with our ShortFlights series, where Matt and I break down individual anime that are hot and popular. Also, give the AnimazeShow a follow on Facebook and Instagram. Stay up to date with all the anime news that they have to offer, and we will catch you guys next time.